Hello, 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 hello. Greetings to you again. This is Pastor G from Grace Restoration Ministries. Marriage Made Stronger. And again, I know I am supposed to wait for a live audience, but I am trying to keep this to 15 minutes. Last week I wasn't able to be with you all. As you see that I'm still kind of nasally, still kind of congested, but I am here today. So Marriage Made Stronger, for those of you who this is your first time tuning in. Again, I am Pastor Garlena Hines. I have a Master's of Arts degree in Christian Counseling with emphasis on marriage and family therapy. I am also working with Christian Psychotherapist Services in Norfolk. I've worked in Virginia Beach and Chesapeake. Love it dearly. Opportunity to just get my hands on marriages. What we understand is marriage is the strongest institute on earth in relation to God and the church. And the enemy is just attacking marriages. So I'm not here to help everybody, but I am here to help somebody. So you may be that somebody today. Please tag somebody on this. Let somebody know that I am going live, that there is a word from the Lord. And please understand, my teachings are Christian based. Everything that I'm going to talk about marriage is a biblical. My premise is the Word of God. I am a Christian therapist. I am a pastor. For those of you who are looking for something else and outside of what the Bible says, this is not the video for you. But those of you who are believers and who are joining me on today, hey, Miss Linda. Those of you who are joining me on today, welcome to Marriage Made Stronger. My first session actually deal with what are you bringing to the table. You would not believe how many people that I talk to, how many people that I counsel, they're bringing nothing to the table, but they want their mate to bring everything to the table. So we talked about that on the first week. So this week, what I'm focusing on is studying your spouse. Those of you who are single and going to be watching me live, study your mate. Study your mate. This is what we don't do a lot of, is to study our mate, to see what's going on, to see what their relationships are with their parents, what their relationships are with their families. And we go into marriages trying to change people. Okay? Understand you can't change people. Also understand that is God's job, to change people as they surrender themselves to God. God is not even going to make us change. So what do I mean by studying your spouse? Let me just throw this out. All of us come into relationships, friendships, church, with the level of brokenness. I'm learning that as a new pastor. People have a level of brokenness. We all have a level of brokenness. We're in a sinful world. I said it the first week I did my video. We have dysfunctional families. We all have come from some type of dysfunction. That's not a disrespect. That's a fact. So we all bring some type of pain, some type of hurt to the table. And what I said on my first week, and I think it bear repeated, is that it is not your spouse obligation to fix your brokenness. Your spouse can pray with you, they can walk with you, they can go to counseling with you, whether it's therapeutic or whether it's pastoral counseling, but it is our job to fix our brokenness. Now, this is where I want us to understand. First of all, marriage is not a contract. It is not a contract between two people. It is a covenant. A covenant is eternal. That's why in your marriage vows, it says, to death do you part, not homicide do you part. Please get that. Please understand that. So we're in covenant relationship. We're first in covenant relationship with God. God instituted marriage. God has already set forth what marriage should be. And what God has already put in place, we do not need to replace it. So God set forth the standards for marriage. Okay, so let's understand that. So now we're in covenant, but in my covenant, I'm bringing something to the table that's broken. I'm bringing some pain. I'm bringing some hurt. I'm bringing some heartache. Sometimes we're bringing disorders. Now, remember, I am not saying that disrespectful. I'm in the mental health field. Some people come into their marriage. They have bipolar. Some people come into the marriage. They have anxiety disorder. They have panic disorder. They have schizophrenia, whatever it could be. Some of us come in there with high blood pressure. We come into the marriage with a bad temper. We have anger issues. We have trust issues. So we bring a lot of stuff into it. So When you think about dating, start to study that person. This is what we don't do. We overlook a lot of red flags. Instead of us saying, stop, let's deal with this before we say I do, we do one or two things. We get married and hope it'll get better, or we get married and hope that we're going to ignore it. Well, the thing about that is you're living with that person. You're going to bed with that person. You're waking up with that person. You spend a lot of time with that person. You cannot, let's just say the person has anger issues. You cannot dismiss or ignore somebody who has an anger issue. So, studying your spouse, studying your potential spouse. We're going to deal with anger, okay? Because there are an array of things that I could deal with. So, let's just say anger because it's pretty prominent. So, you know you're dating somebody with anger issues. When I say study them, watch their triggers. See what makes them angry. See what type of words they do not like. See what type of behavior they cannot tolerate. A lot of their anger may be coming from childhood issues. I'm not sure. But let's just say they have anger issues. Now, as you study them, if you love them enough to say, I'm going to make a commitment to marry them, you do not want to be the trigger point. That's my driving force. If we're going to be in covenant, or we're already in covenant relationship because we're married, and you know your spouse has anger issues, do not poke the bear. I'm going to let that rest there. Do not poke the bear. If you know your wife has anger issues, and every time she's called the B word, y'all know what I mean, the bitch, okay? You know that sets her off because that's what her daddy used to call her, so it just makes her anger. It brings up childhood pain that she hasn't resolved. We got that. She brought that into the marriage. You knew that was going on. Then why would you do that? Selah moment. If you know calling somebody out their name causes them to be angry, or it has the trigger point. Now, let me say this. We all have to be responsible for our actions. I got that. Okay? Nobody can make you do anything. It's not what people do, it's how we respond. I got that. But if you know that there is a struggle, put it this way. You're trying to lose weight, and you know you love Krispy Kreme donuts, and your husband bring a whole box of Krispy Kreme donuts in the house. Come on now. If you know that's my struggle, why are you tempting me? Help me. We're in covenant relationship. So let's go back to the anger. You have to study your spouse. You have to study the one that you're trying to one day hopefully marry. So if you know they don't like to be called the B word, don't do it. If you know they don't like you to tell them to shut up, don't do it. If you know your husband don't like you to call him a clown, say it with me. Don't do it. You have to learn to study and see, because we're in covenant, remember, okay? Or we want to be in covenant, then you got to see, how can I help that? If I know certain things trigger my spouse's anger, what can I do to help it? Understand, I'm not asking you to walk on glass. I'm not asking you to tiptoe. I'm not asking you to be a liar and enable behavior. That's not what I'm saying. I am saying study your spouse to the point. If you know certain things trigger, do not be a help to that, okay? So put it this way. Isaiah 54:17 says, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. Make sure you're not being a weapon. That's all I'm saying. If you know that, go back to what I said about the Krispy Kreme donuts. If you know that your spouse is struggling, and Krispy Kreme donuts, not just any donut, Krispy Kreme donuts, is their downfall, why would you bring it in the house? If I'm a recovering alcoholic, why would you bring cognac or Hennessy in the house? Why? We're in covenant. So what part of covenant is for us to help each other. We are a team. Now, let's look at this. We're going to have the NFL playoffs tomorrow. There's going to be two good games. I'm going for the Saints and I'm going for the Chiefs. Cowboys didn't make it. Don't nobody say about my Cowboys. Didn't make it. So watch this. When the quarterback throws the ball to tight end, the wide receiver, okay? Let's just say the wide receiver. So the quarterback throws the ball to the wide receiver. Do you see the rest of the team just standing there like, okay, he's going to catch it and make a touchdown? No, they're blocking. They're running with him. They're keeping their quarterback from getting hurt. They're keeping another man from tackling him. It is a team effort to get the touchdown. Y'all see where I'm going? So if you know your spouse, as you study your spouse, if you know they have, let's go back to the anger issue. They have anger issues. You got to be tackling. You have to be making sure that they get to the end to get that touchdown, meaning that you do not stand there and allow things to help trigger their anger. That's what covenant is. You love your spouse, right? Talking to married folks now. You love your spouse, okay? We're in this together. We're in this love together. Who's saying that? Al Jarreau or somebody? Some of y'all don't know that, but anyway, we're in this together. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to study my spouse. I'm going to see what's the likes and the dislikes. I am going to see what they like me to say and what they don't. Because understand, what you think is okay may be offensive to me. I don't like being called red bone. Don't you call me that. I don't like being called high yellow. I don't like people saying to me, you know, red women, they work it. My skin pigmentation is a result of my dad and my mom. I can't do anything about this. I don't like to be labeled like that. I don't like the bitch word. If I ever date, and that we need to talk about that, because that may be a term of endearment for you that's offensive to me. So you study your spouse to see, and this is why communication is very important. You study your spouse to see what's offensive. If I call her the B word, if I tell her to shut up, if I push her down, if I call him a clown, if I call him stupid, what is that going to do to their anger issues? So you're not in here to change people. You're not in your marriage to change your spouse. That's not your job. You're in your marriage to try to help aid with whatever issue that they have going on. Now, there's a difference in aiding and enabling. When you enable, you refuse to talk about it. You refuse to confront it. You refuse to say, hey, we need to deal with this, okay? I am not promoting that you just allow everything. I'm not promoting that you have to fix everything. I'm not even promoting you have to give attention to everything, because there may be some things that you are just actually too sensitive about, okay? So in studying your spouse, you got to really watch. And let me tell you this, before you get married, watch how your husband-to-be responds to his mother. If he has no respect for his mother, no relationship with his mother, 9 times out of 10, there's always that 1%. 9 times out of 10, he's not going to have a good relationship with you. Watch how the woman deals with her father. If she didn't have a father figure, she hates her father, she has no respect for men, you in for it, because she's going to bring all of that into it. So that's why it's important to kind of talk about these things. It's important to be around the family, okay? If you're dating somebody, they don't want you to meet their family, that's a red flag right there. No, I need to see how many crazy uncles you got. I need to see if he crazy because he drunk, or he crazy because something else is going on. I need to see how you relate to your mom, how you relate, what kind of family do you have. I need to see if y'all do family gatherings. I need to see how your dad talks to your mom, how your mom talks to your dad. So in doing that, it'll help me to relate to you better. So if I know you come from a family of a hard-working man, then 9 times out of 10, you're going to be a hard-working man. So when you study your spouse and you see what they bring to the table, all I'm saying is to see how you can help that. That's it. So if you know they have an issue, and go back, let's go back to the donuts for a minute, because women, most of us, we kind of struggle with our weight. Yes, we do. Okay, so if I'm struggling with my weight and I'm having a hard time with my weight, you bring the donuts in, and then later on you call me fat. That's not going to make me feel real good. Study to see how I respond to the fact that I have an anger issue. See how I respond to the fact that I have a weight issue. See how I respond to the fact that I struggle with alcoholism. Watch how I respond to it. See how I handle it. Okay? See how I deal with my anger. See if I have any coping skills in place to say, count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Breathe deep. Sing some songs. Close your eyes. Get in your safe place. See what I do about my anger. And then you can kind of help me with that. But in studying your spouse, it is not to exasperate the problem. It is not to make it larger. It is not for me to share with you that I have this problem and you turn around and throw it up in my face. Okay, that's not covenant. We're in covenant. We're not in a contract. We're in a covenant relationship with each other. And so today, what I want you to do, now it doesn't matter how long you've been married. Some of you watching me now have been married like 200 years. And this is what I learned in life. There's always something to learn. You never stop learning. You may feel we got it packed down. We got our communication. We got our love language. Me and my husband just got the greatest relationship. Me and my wife got the greatest relationship. But there's always something you learn. I tell people when you stop learning, you stop living. Okay? So there's always something to learn. Watch your spouse. So he may have anger issues. He may, flip off at the mouth. What we say, he may have a slick tongue, just kind of slick say anything he want to say. Just kind of see that. Just kind of watch it for a moment. And then what you want to do is sit down and have a mature conversation. Honey, I noticed that when you get angry, you name call. When you get angry, you throw things. When you get angry, you take it out on the kids. When you get angry, you come home from work and you take it out on me. I need to let you know how I feel about that. That's communication. Something we don't do. And in my later on videos, I'm going to talk about communication. So now I need to know how to help you see you're studying him. And when I say you're studying him, you're watching. When he get mad about some money, he just start throwing all the dishes around. Does he know we got to spend more money to get the dishes that he just replace the dishes that he just threw out? Okay. So when you study your spouse, okay, you don't want to bring it to their attention in an accusatory manner, because remember, you're going to help. If he already has anger issues or she already has anger issues and you go to them in the wrong way, remember, guys, is in your presentation. If you want me to lose weight, if you come to me and say, you're just fat and you're sitting all over the place and you're just an embarrassment to the family, I'm not too likely to hear the rest of what you got to say. But if you say, I know you've been struggling and I have some things I think can help. I don't know if you thought about this, if you thought about that. There's a Zumba class that I go to and I can bring people if you're interested in going. I may be more receptive to that. So when you're studying your spouse and you're studying their issues, first of all, don't throw it up in their face. Now, for most of us, when we were dating, they had an anger issue. You knew they overspent. You know they had a problem overeating. You already knew that. And if you decided to date anyway and you decided to get married, what you decided is that I know you're going to bring this to the table, and that's okay, because we do bring things to the table. Okay. So when you think about I'm in covenant, as your covenant partner, how can I help? Okay. That's what I want you to understand. As you are studying your spouse, you need to be in prayer. How can I help this? Because, see, when my husband get mad, he say anything to our children. And they're sensitive. They're afraid of dad now, or they're afraid of mom. They don't want to go talk to mom anymore because they know she's going to pop off. She's going to say something. So how can I've studied that with your anger comes this behavior. With your overeating comes this behavior. With your overspending comes this behavior. So I'm studying you, and I see this is happening as your covenant partner. How can I help? That's a healthy, successful marriage. Not throwing it in your face, not blaming you. Our children are going to grow up to be drunks and alcoholics because you're so abusive. Not that. Don't speak that. No, they won't. Don't speak that. But you have to have give them some grace. That's my favorite word. Give them some grace, because you married them. And let me tell some of y'all something. You married them knowing they had these problems. Okay? And you can act like you didn't know. You can get amnesia and you can be crazy about it. However, but you married them understanding that they had these problems. So as you study your spouse, you're in covenant relationship. Your part as a covenant partner is to see how can I help with this. So let's go back to anger. Your spouse has anger issues. You studied their behavior. You studied this is how you act when you get angry, but you've also studied when this happens or I say this, because can I tell you something? Sometimes we trigger people. Sometimes we trigger people. What I found out, being a wounded healer of sexual abuse, there are some things that I can see on TV that triggers me. Okay, so that means I have to stop watching it. So sometimes when you know that your spouse has a certain issue, stop triggering that. If you know your spouse has anger issues, stop doing things to trigger the anger. Remember what I said. We still have to be responsible for our behaviors. I got that. But as a covenant partner with your spouse, what you want to do is help them heal from that. Because when that your spouse heals, then guess what? Your marriage heals and your children heal. But as long as you poke the bear, and you keep throwing it up in their face, and you know that they have this problem, you keep antagonizing them, it doesn't help. So as you study your spouse, because that's what this session is about, studying your spouse. Now, you want to study to see how it can help. So many of you studied for different exams. I know you've been to school. If it was just your multiplication, chemistry test, or however, you found ways to study to help you remember, not just for the moment, but for a long time to remember, because what you learn in the 9th grade, you're going to see in the 10th grade again. Okay. So you found ways to study to help yourself to pass the exam. Well, when you study your spouse, then guess what? You got to find ways to help them overcome. That's marriage. Okay, we're a team. Remember what I say. The quarterback throws the ball. And you got all the team members, they blocking, they tackling. Sometimes they holding. You get a penalty for holding. They clipping. You get a penalty for that. But they're trying to make sure when that wide receiver receives that ball, he run it into the end zone. That's what you want to do. You don't want to just see your spouse struggling and your spouse going through stuff and you studying it, but you're not doing anything. So as I wrap this up, as you study your spouse, these are some tips I'm going to leave. When you study your spouse, don't throw it up in their face. Your husband know and your wife knows they have anger issues. Don't throw it up in their face, okay? You want to do something to help them. That's the first thing. The second thing, when you're studying your spouse, how can I help? Now, I'm old school, y'all. I'm old Pentecostal school. And the mamas will say, the mothers of the church say, baby, put some prayer on it. And let me say this. I give therapeutic techniques, but I believe in the power of prayer and I believe the power of the word. You pray and say, God, how can I help? I'm studying my spouse and I see that they have this issue. How can I help? And sometimes your help, especially women, your help sometimes may be to be quiet. See, the Bible says study to be quiet. That word study again. So sometimes in helping your spouse, sometimes you got to pray and be quiet. And then if you find some therapeutic techniques and you say, well, honey, I notice certain things trigger you when you get angry. So these are some things I think would help. Come with a resolve. Come with some type of resolution. Remember, we're not in contract. We're in covenant in marriage. And what you want to do as you study your spouse, please do not poke the bear. If you know your wife trying to get them last 10 pounds off, okay, I'm going to go back to them Krispy Kreme. Y'all know why I keep talking about Krispy Kreme. That's my struggle. When I drive past Krispy Kreme, I don't even look that way. I look all over here, not because I may stop. So if you know that they struggle with that, don't bring the donuts in the house. Eat your donuts in the car, then wipe your mouth and come in the house. But study your spouse in the fact of, I want to see what I can do to help. Because as you help your spouse grow, you help your marriage to grow. Okay. So what I want you to do, so what some of you just clipped in, go back and listen to it from the beginning. This is Marriage Made Stronger, Pastor G. We talked today about studying your spouse. If you're single and you're watching this, study your mate. Because I'm going to tell you, if they have some struggles, unless they fix them before they go into marriage, those struggles, along with his socks and his shoes, come into the marriage. So what I want you to do, study your spouse. See how you can help. Remember, you're in a covenant. You're not in a contract. The more you help and be an aid and a prayerful partner with your spouse, the stronger your marriage should be. And if you have children, the more healthier. See, it is a downward thing that goes on. Okay. So when you get better, when you get healthier, your spouse gets healthier and get better. And it also helps the family dynamics. It helps the children to get healthier. So thank you so much for listening in this week. We will be back next week with more of Marriage Made Stronger. Continue to keep me in prayer, because all that the Lord has assigned me to do, then I will do. Thank you so much for listening. Please tag somebody on it. And if you just started with it, please go back and listen to it. All right. Have a happy Saturday and have a wonderful day in church tomorrow. God bless you and have a great day.